Hello, it's Jimmy here at O'Reilly's. I've just come here to look at a Kia that has a DPF symbol popping up on every single drive. So we're here to diagnose what the problem is. Now, as usual, it's been in and out of the dealership and their local garages, which is just down the road there, but no success. So we're gonna see if I can figure out what exactly is going on with this car. So the first thing which is nice to mention about this Kia is that it was at the Kia dealership and they've told the customer, call this guy, have him diagnose it, and then we are happy to repair it. But they said we're not happy to diagnose the fault, so if you can get O'Reilly's to diagnose the problem, then bring it back to us and we'll go from there, which is strange but nice, I suppose. Okay, so first we'll get our diagnostic machine here and we'll get it plugged into the car. Okay, I'm inside the car. We're gonna start it up. Let's turn that off. So what the customer is saying is that the light comes on after a short journey. So basically after 20 minutes of driving you get this light pop up. I don't know if anything more than that. Basically I don't know if it's losing power or if the engine light comes on after a certain time. All I know is that the light's coming on. It's been to various places to have it diagnosed, but they still have this problem. So let's see if we can figure it out. Okay, we're gonna click on our diagnostic machine, go to diagnose, and we've got it plugged in there on the OBD port, which is just down there. Click Kia. It's actually a Kia Stonic, so it says there, 2018. Don't even know, I didn't even know the model, I just know it's a Kia. So we've got a 16 pin and we'll do automatic search if it supports that. Stonic 1.6 diesel, of course. Do a high speed scan, or smart scan was that? Okay, so we don't actually have any fault codes. And I think I know the reason behind that. So the reason it's not going to have any fault code is because it's been in and out of garages, and of course they've been clearing the fault code. It would probably take, it could take anywhere from 20 minutes to 3 or 4 days of driving for me to get a fault code to log up for this sort of fault, if it's DPF related. So what we're going to do is we're going to go onto data stream and see if we can find any sort of information there. So you have your data stream here. First of all, what I'd be looking at is the standard sort of stuff working, like are we reading DPF pressure, is there voltage there, and what is the soot grams, if it will show us. Some of these will count it as, or describe it as, particle matter or PM. No, so I'm just gonna try and search for a few different words. So it's not particle matter, it's not so let's just type in diesel. No, let's look at filter. No. DPF, exhaust temperature. Well, I suppose it wouldn't hurt to see the exhaust temperatures as well, make sure they're working. Right, DPF pressure is minus 0.784. Something wrong there, straight away. Voltage is just 1 or 0.98 volts. Let's hold the revs up. Right, so what I'm going to do now is turn the engine off, ignition on. There we go. Let's see if that is zeroing out. Right, so it's not zeroing out. We're in negative minus 9.4 pressure with the engine off. So with the engine off, this should be reading exactly 0. So there's definitely either an issue with the sensor, or ECU or wiring. First thing I would try and do with that is go back and see if we have special functions to zero it in or calibrate it, basically. Maybe this one. Here we go. That's what we're looking for. Turn the ignition off for at least 20 seconds. Okay, we'll do that and get back. Okay, that's done. And let's go back to the data stream again, see if that's made any difference. Just change that from bar if I can. There we go. Okay, it hasn't made any difference. Now this may need a new sensor, but I'd be a bit skeptical if a new sensor would just fix that. Okay, so we've got a bunner open. This is the engine I'm looking at. 16 valve 1.6. So it looks like the sensor is just about there. What I'm going to do is just unplug it and then see what happens with the readings here. So you can see it jumps back to 5 volts and then we've got 7 pressure. Let's try plugging it back in now. Sometimes an unplug and a plug it back in can sort of reset it. No, wishful thinking, but no, it's not making any difference. So that's the sensor plugged in, and this is the sensor plugged out. We have 5 volts when it's plugged out and 7 millibars of pressure. And once it is plugged in, let's just get that back in. There we go. We have 0.98 volts and minus 9 pressure. Now, just because we found one fault, it doesn't mean fixing this one sensor is going to fix the issue. We can see we have 5 volts with the sensor off. I don't think there's a wiring issue. I think it is a bad sensor. But these also have a very common issue with DPF failure, cracking. So we're going to do a little swab test at the exhaust. Okay, we're here. It looks already dirty from... Yeah, look at that. That is quite a heavy amount of soot. You can see there is actually lumps and lumps of it, so it's not just a little bit black. We have lumps of black there that I can literally scrape off. So there is damage to the DPF. So the problem with this car is it's a 2018, so it's going to be Euro 6, and it's likely got a particle matter sensor, which means that the particle matter sensor isn't going to be happy with getting covered in this soot. So that might trigger off a fault. There is a very slight chance that if you put a DPF pressure sensor on it, it could fix, obviously it's going to fix the pressure issue, but it doesn't mean that you're not going to get your light on anymore, because we have 2 separate faults. We've got a damaged DPF and we've got an issue with the pressure on the sensor. So ideally it needs a new DPF and a new pressure sensor, but if it was mine, I'd probably just stick a sensor on it first and then maybe go down the route of the new DPF afterwards. So I'm not too sure what any common issues are with this exact engine, if there is underlying issues that could cause a new DPF. If you fit a new DPF, you don't want the new DPF to crack again. Normally what you'd want to do is have the fuel injectors tested to make sure they're not over fueling, which could be damaging the DPF. I don't know if there's any software issues, ECU issues. We'd need to check that with Kia to see if there's any sort of TSBs regarding that. Okay, some more information we can find on live data is distance since the last regen was 56 kilometers. Regeneration demand 1. Status of successful regeneration is a fail. So we're just cruising at 2000 RPM and it's sort of fluctuating. The pressure 20 millibars, 16, 12, even 12 millibars of pressure, which is a bit low. Okay, so obviously we're just taking it on a test drive. I want to see, get a little bit of as much information as I can show you on this video by test driving it. I want to see if it will try and do a regen or not. With this sort of fault where the pressure is low, it would probably not try to do a regen for a fairly long time. Whereas if the pressure is too high, you would get the vehicle sort of regen maybe even every sort of 10 miles if it's high enough. So if your DPF pressure is high, you normally get a vehicle regen. It could regen every 200 miles if the pressure is a little bit higher. It could then regen every 100 miles if the pressure is higher than that. 50, 20 miles, 10 miles, even 5 miles if you get the drift on that. If you got a DPF pressure that's too low, you could do sort of 600, 700, 800, 1,000 miles even, and it's not attempting to do a regen because the ECU is not telling it needs to do one because the pressure is quite low. And then you may get a fault code like a P2002, or in these cases P2003 is what or P200300. That's the code. I'm going to take it on a little bit of a further test drive, see if we can get this light to flash up that they're talking about, and see if we can get a fault code to actually pop up. One thing that I will note is I get asked a lot, this happens a lot, so it happens with this car as well, can you give me a price to clean the DPF? So I always say, like, my assessment test before we do it, it's £120 before I'm going to even attempt to clean your DPF. Oh, but we've had it diagnosed, we know what the fault code is, we don't want to do that, we just want to have the DPF cleaned. There's a lot of stuff that I need to check. I mean, there's a lot of stuff I can't check, like I said, the fuel injectors, I'm not capable of testing them here, but there's a lot of tests that I'd need to do before you'd even attempt to try and clean a DPF. Like, is the pressure sensor working? Is it trying to regen too often? If it's regening every 20 miles, for instance, you know your DPF clean is going to be a waste of time because it's most likely your DPF is damaged. There's a lot of stuff I need to test before I'd even attempt to clean it, basically. And yeah, most customers don't understand that. They just say, they think it's a waste of money and can they just have the DPF cleaned and be done with it, but they don't want the test done. But it's a big issue for me at the moment. What I've done is I've divided my assessment tests and the DPF cleaning, and I've divided the costs, because if I come out to someone and the cost is all in for DPF and assessment, and then I tell them, oh, your DPF is damaged, we can't clean it, they then don't expect to pay anything, even though I've wasted an hour of my time. So that's why I've separated the costs. But even by separating the costs, you still get the trouble of trying to explain why the costs are separated and why they need to pay this assessment fee. Now, some of this chat is irrelevant to the diagnosis of this video, but I just thought we'd have a little bit of a chat about it. I know it can feel for customers like a waste of money adding on. So if I say, okay, I haven't found any issues, so we're going to clean the DPF, and they're like, oh, so we could have just cleaned the DPF from the start. Yeah, but it's always worth checking. And the other scenario is we check it and say, oh, sorry, we can't clean the DPF, but you owe me some money for the assessment fee. And it can feel to the customer, oh, so he hasn't fixed the car, but I've still got to pay him some money. That was a waste of time and a waste of money. But you've got to look at it from the mechanic side of view. Is if I spend an hour or a little bit more looking at your car, or maybe 10 minutes or 20 minutes, it could take me 5 minutes to figure out that, you know, you've got an issue here straight away and this is what's wrong. But I relatively have to take sort of 2 hours out of my day to book your job in, see it, travel to it, travel from it, and do the rest of the admin work related to it, emailing you a report, whatever. So yeah, I generally have to take sort of 2 hours out of my day to do that. And if you look at it from the mechanic's point of view, is we can't be wasting our time coming out to clean the DPF and then it can't be cleaned, so I've lost 2 hours out of my day and some money. Unfortunately, the best way to describe that is I'm not really interested if your car can have a DPF clean or not. So it's not in my benefit to know if your DPF is good or not, or if it can be cleaned, or if you've got other issues. It's the customer's benefit. You're getting the benefit from knowing that your DPF is in good order or it's not, and again, it's your car, so you're getting the benefit from it. That's some of the stuff. Most people looking at this video are going to be mechanics themselves, looking at trying to learn this information. So I'm not expecting a lot of customers to see this, but I think a lot of mechanics will sort of know the feeling of what I'm talking about there. So let's finish off the diagnosis now. We have now got the flashing symbol check exhaust system. So looking at the temperatures, it's not trying to regen, so that's not a regeneration sign. It's not saying that it's regenerating, it's saying that it's now detecting a fault. So we're going to test drive it back to the customer's address now. Okay, now surprisingly, Bennett's have dropped me off one of these in about 10 minutes. I wasn't expecting them to have one in stock, but they do. Usually with Kias, Honda, Toyota, anything sort of Asian, Korean, it's really difficult to get parts for them, but they had this on the shelf. If it's the right one, let's open it and see. We'll have to get the old one out to compare it obviously first, make sure it looks the same, and then we'll get this swapped over. And like I said, this doesn't mean you're going to fix your car, but at least if we put this on, we're going to see if we can get the right pressure readings from the DPF. Then you can go move forward and have a further test drive, and if need be, then replace the DPF. Now the DPF could have been damaged because this is given the incorrect reading, so it would be thinking that the DPF's not blocked, but it is. But the customer has now just admitted to me when I spoke about fitting this sensor that this all started when they put £20 worth of petrol in by mistake. The car sort of broke down, they had to have it brought to the garage and fuel drained, new fuel filter, and the issue's just been going on since that. It's been going on for 6 months now. It's been back to the garage a few times. They've done a forced regen and told her it's fixed, but obviously it's not. So at least we know the two issues where the damage could have come from. It's one is that the petrol fuel could have overheated the DPF, and the petrol fuel may have also damaged the fuel injector. So again, that's another point to have those tested. But we're going to now get this fitted and go from there. Okay, we've got a 3-pin plug, 2 notches at the top, 1 at the bottom, and it looks like this. This one's from NTK. Let's just match up this one. It does look pretty similar. Okay, new sensor has been fitted. We've adapted it in with this. We're reading the live data. We're still getting exactly the same. So I've tried a different brand of tool just to make sure. We're still getting exactly the same, -9 and the 0.98 volts. So we have fitted the new sensor. Now this is, so if a new sensor's on, we're still getting the same reading. It's obviously got some sort of software issues, and the only people I would think of can fix that is Kia. Obviously some software specialists who have original Kia software. I think it may need a software update or something sorting out with the ECU, which is not something I can do, unfortunately. So yeah, a bit of a strange one. New sensor in, we're still reading -9. Where do you go from here? Software is the only thing I can think of. If you've come across this before yourself, you can obviously put it in the comments, but when it comes to this, I'm not sure what the best option to do is. Obviously I don't really get involved with software issues, don't really get involved too much with wiring. I do little bits here and there, but I'm not what you'd call an auto electrician really. But unfortunately it does need a new DPF, but it also needs maybe Kia looking at why the software is reading -9 when the pressure sensor is working fine. So unfortunately that's all about I can do here today. I know the software isn't reading right, so we're going to have to get that to someone who's a software specialist or the actual Kia dealership who can possibly sort that out. So I'll give them a note of what's wrong and see if they can sort it, and see you on the next